forever. So stop me and take my advice.
Hey.
You're looking dapper.
Thank you. You're
Did you
looking
get a
good
haircut?
yourself.
Did you get a haircut?
I got them all cut.
Yeah, all of them? Okay. Anyhow. So I didn't do anything stupid all week. Not one thing. I did 20 stupid things.
20?
Yeah.
Where do we start?
20. Oh, like when I tried to call Amazon to return something. So I buy this generic air pump, right, for bikes. It's got a little battery in it.
Yeah.
It'll pump up like 5 tires before it goes dead. So I thought, I need another one because I gave the other one to Blaine, my other one. So I thought, I need one. So I thought, I'll save money and get a generic one. So that was the stupid thing one. So I get it in, looks great. And I didn't need it right away, but I wanted to maybe go for a ride yesterday. So I go to pump it up, battery gauge is dead, and I think, that's not right. You know, because usually when you get new things in with batteries, they have a partial charge, but it was dead. So I go to charge it, and it like charges to full in like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And I'm like, something's wrong here. Lithium batteries don't charge that quick.
No.
So then I go to use it, and it works great, and then dies within a minute.
Oh, perfect.
So I redo the whole process just to make sure I didn't do anything wrong. Then I, of course, go to the seller and immediately get this auto response. Oh, no, Amazon's handling the returns. So then I go to Amazon and they go, oh, do you want to chat? Oh, yeah, sure. So I go to chat and you just waste all this time. And they're like, well, maybe you should just replace the batteries. It's got a broken battery in it, you know. And you don't even know if you're talking to a human.
Yeah.
I kind of think you're just talking to AI. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So, but you got to pretend you're talking to a human, right? And so
you got to role play.
So finally, it's like the thing kept going. Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of you. We'll take care of you. Oh, you'll be happy, and you know. So then it goes. Oh, here's the link. Just contact the owner because we can't do anything. Contact the company that sells them. So then I hang up okay, thank you to the robot. Thank you. And then, of course, the chat disappears. You have no record you even contacted them. I hit the link, and, of course, it disappeared, goes back, and it goes into a full loop again. Sorry.
Oh, no.
You can't deal with us. You have to contact Amazon. And so they have this little gig set up where you just go in a circle.
And so you can't escape.
No, you can't escape. There's no way to return it. So I'm going to do a voice call, and I guarantee it'll be the same crap. They'll figure out a way to put me back into the loop again.
So are you saying if you end up in hell, it'll be dealing with Amazon customer support?
Yeah, it's the loop. The Amazon loop,
for eternity.
You know, God bless them. I mean, they're great on delivery, but things don't always work. And I'm not very picky, you know, so I may just chuck it.
Yeah, you're not picky.
Anyhow, what else we got going on today? A lot of new stuff, but I was going to do a little housekeeping. One, I am going to, at some point, spring a surprise trivia question, right?
Yeah.
And give away, I think I'm going to give away a couple of Bigfoot museums.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like you can either pick a 148 scale or a 164 scale. Yeah, there you go. Oh, see, you're on it. And this is like it's a thing you can put on your shelf, put on your desk. Anybody into Bigfoot? It's kind of a cool thing. And you can have fun putting it together. Put it together with your kid. Teach them about glue.
And where not to put it.
Yeah. And then, or you can assemble it and then blow it up. Wait till 4th of July and then put a firecracker in it. Yeah. Or whatever. Do whatever you stomp it. Be Godzilla. Put it together and then stomp it. Stomp it for whatever you want to do. But anyhow, if you want one, I'm going to do a surprise trivia at some point. Don't know when. I'm not giving you any warning. Guarantee, Alex, you're not going to know these questions either. It's just guaranteed.
No.
They're that good. Okay. What else we've got? Where are we at? Oh, speaking of Bigfoot, have you ever heard of a computer chip called the Mu chip?
No. What's the Mew chip?
Okay, this surprises me actually that you haven't heard of this, because I really think it's got great applications for the Bigfoot mystery. So the Mu chip is a tiny microscopic. It's a whole bunch of RFDI chips, but they're as small as dust.
Microscopic.
They're literally dust. So developed by Hitachi for DARPA, of course. Doesn't everything get developed for DARPA?
Of course.
But here's what's scary. Now, everybody should be scared when I say this. This RFDI dust was developed in the 90s.
The 90s.
And it's now commercially available.
That far back.
So you can like sprinkle some of this dust, someone could walk through it and cling to their shoes, and you can now track them.
Oh, I can see how this would be useful for Bigfoot.
Just one piece of dust and you can track them.
So if you could get one on a Bigfoot.
Or get them to ingest it. I mean, apparently the stuff is made out of something the immune system overlooks.
So you could put it in some peanut butter.
Yeah, sprinkle it on their Lucky Charms. Yeah, pour it in the purple stuff.
The purple
I almost
drink?
said the SH word. I caught myself right at shh. That's pretty good. Anyhow, so I just thought, what great applications. So I've been researching how to get my hands on it. I think I should be able to.
Is it wildly
dust.
expensive?
Mew dust.
Mew dust?
Mew dust, yeah. Well, of course it's going to be wildly expensive. What do you think? They're
So-
RFDI chips. I would imagine probably $20 a piece of dust. It's not that bad.
So if you sneeze, it's over.
Well, then you can track where all this stuff goes. You should be able to collect it all again.
Collect it
Anyhow.
all again.
So I just thought that would be. You heard it here first on Untold Radio.
Yes.
Bigfoot can be caught by Mew dust.
I love it. This is
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's coming.
I've never heard of Mew dust.
Yeah, I'll bring some over to your house and put it on your wood floor. Let's see what happens. Anyhow, la. But it is cool. It is cool. Apparently, by the way, I was going to add, it doesn't need any batteries. So the batteries, there's none. Doesn't need any.
No batteries.
So the Mew dust lasts forever.
Forever?
Pretty much.
100 years?
Well, what can smash dust? Nothing.
Yeah, you lost me there.
Yeah. So, have you? Okay, so you're obviously way younger than I am, because you're my son. Have you ever thought about or heard about smelling salts?
No, I haven't.
You've never even heard of it. Just be honest.
No, I'm serious.
You've never heard of smelling.
I mean, I've heard of people like doing bath salts and eating people's faces.
We're not talking about bath salts. But when I was a kid growing up,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like every movie had a woman fainting, and then or a person fainting. They would
What do people use it for?
Well, they'll wake you up if you faint. Like a
Oh,
woman
okay.
would faint. They'd someone would have them like right in their pocket instantly, pull out the bottle of smelling salts and then wave it under their nose and
That
magically
sounds useful.
become conscious again. Yeah. So anyhow, but I was thinking about it because it's kind of going viral on YouTube about people smelling these just for fun, smelling
See
salts.
how bad they are.
And I thought, I've never smelt them. I have no idea I really didn't even know what it was or what chemicals it was made out of. Is it toxic? So I did a little research on it, and I thought people might be interested. Older people would be interested, not you.
Not me.
No, older.
I'm wildly interested.
People that grew up watching cartoons and movies with smelling salts in every episode. Swear to God.
But they're bringing it back, aren't they?
Well, apparently it's used to, like, boxers use it. Athletes, weightlifters use it to, like, give them they take a whiff of this crap.
Gets their adrenaline going.
And yes, there is risk. I mean, I'm not recommending anybody try it, anybody smell it.
Can you get sick?
There's risk, huh?
Can you get like sick, or like can it hurt you if you inhale too much?
Well, yeah, it's ammonia gas is toxic. So it's basically ammonia salts. And this gas is toxic in large concentrations or for prolonged periods. Okay. It could be fatal. So you don't want to really do this. It can burn your mucosa in your nose. It's things that can happen. So don't do this. It's not for that.
No.
And I really don't know. But anyhow, so smelling salts are also known as ammonia inhalants, spirit of hartshorn, or sal volatile. They're chemical compounds, and they're stimulants to restore consciousness after fainting.
So do they still use it today if you faint, like at a school?
Maybe I don't know. It could be in some first aid kits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently it's a compound of ammonium carbonate. It's a little colorless. It's kind of a white crystalline. But anyhow, so I sent you a couple of links of people or things smelling these current links. Now you know what they're for. So there's one. Why don't you put up video A? Yep. Oh, yeah. This was even used in the sun. See, you didn't remember this. Play it.
I have human smelling salts in my human first aid kit.
See, people just happen to have this, Alex.
Come on, buddy.
Gotta go fast.
That's what happens to you.
What year is it?
That's why athletes use it.
Whoa, buddy, you're okay. Calm down.
So there you go. All right. So next, put in video B. And this is, and there's kind of a naughty word in this one. I probably got to find one without a naughty word.
No,
How about just don't play the audio? Just don't play the audio.
Oh, we're good.
Oh. How are we good?
1 second. Okay.
Video B.
Hey, what's up, TikTok people? I got that assaults. Not at
That's the name.
Anyway, Joe Rogan had these smelling salts.
Probably was Joe who started the craze. Somebody did.
Salts by and it's smelling salts that are insane. I've done it before, but oh my god, dude! Look at my eyes. Don't smell it.
I mean, it'd be one way to wake up in the morning.
Burning.
So
if you can't wake up to an alarm clock, that's what you need.
Well, normally when I wake up now, I just do a backflip.
Yeah.
I stand up, do one backflip, and I'm good.
Right into your pants?
Yeah. I wake up in my pants already.
Ready to go?
Oh, yeah, with my tie on, everything. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, enough of that crap. Enough of that. So what else we got? I sent you another video. This has nothing to do with Doug's video clips, okay? This was just something. I was talking about Murphy's Law. I'm constantly reminding people, don't say that. Don't do that because, knock on wood, you like I remember one time my niece said, "Oh, I've never got stitches." Literally the next day she got stabbed at McDonald's. Those are the things you don't want to say anything that tempts Murphy. So this is a great example. That's why I wanted to play it. So if you can find video C.
Yeah, and the other thing this clip demonstrates is how dangerous our job is.
Oh, yes. It could happen to us at any moment.
Exactly.
If we said the following words that they did. which we will not say, because it would be like an airplane through the window.
It got so quiet in here. How did I?
So he goes, it got so quiet in here. And you're complaining again. This was not staged, trust me. Play it again, Alex.
I think I in here. How did I?
No, you gotta play the line. You keep missing what he's saying.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's the important part.
It's got so
How did
quiet.
I-
It got so quiet in here.
Yeah, these guys almost were killed.
It's not quiet anymore.
Now one guy's like, "Oh, is my phone okay?"
He doesn't even care about his friend.
He doesn't give a crap. Nobody. With a shard of glass in his back.
You know,
Even that guy may have been hurt. He
I
just
think
like,
we're
"Oh,
fine. I think we
listen, what does he say?
what was he
got
saying?
all the audio on there.
We got, yeah, at least you got the audio.
Oh man,
Holy
crazy.
shit. Oh my god. What the just happened, dude?
All right, that's enough of that crap. Anyhow, so that's why you don't want to tempt fate. Exactly. So another guy that kind of tempted fate, and I was going to send you. I actually have the audio for this. I could go get it, but there's actual audio in this. This guy has a pet zebra, right? Maybe I did send it to you. No, I didn't.
I didn't get the pet zebra.
No, I didn't. I know. So the guy's a pet zebra, and the thing attacks him and literally bites his arm off.
Oh,
Could you imagine having a pet zebra first off? You don't think of a horse doing something like that. You know, somebody, a donkey, a horse, a mule, you know, which are a relative of, obviously. It bites his whole arm off. And the actual 911 call is available. Now, you could probably find it really quick, but I know I don't want to distract you. It's not worth it. So this happened in Ohio, I believe. Occurred at 5:30 p.m. Sunday. Darby Road and Circleville, Pickaway County Sheriff deputies found a 70-year-old man in a fenced-in field lying on the ground. You know, the guy, he did call 911. And the zebra that kept attacking everybody.
I've never heard of a killer
No.
zebra.
I've never heard of a horse biting someone's arm off.
No.
But apparently they can. So now we have one more fear to have when we go to bed tonight of a horse gnawing our armor. Including one that you love, a pet.
Can you imagine that phone call?
Well, yeah, I listened to it. I just forgot to send it to you.
Did they think he was
Like a dork.
pranking them?
So that was number 21 dumb things I did
Yeah.
this week. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Anyhow, what?
Well, how do you take that call serious? My pet zebra.
Well, actually,
bit
the
my arm off?
911 operator she was the one. It was weird. She was going, "Is your arm still attached?" And the guy wouldn't answer. Finally, he did. She asked like 4 times, and he finally goes, "I don't think so."
I don't think so. That's not a good sign.
But why did she? I want to know, why did she ask that question? I mean, has there been other 911 calls of zebras biting people's arms off? It was like she was educated. You know what I mean? It was weird. That's why I wanted to play it.
She
It
was
didn't make
curious.
sense. Well, it didn't make sense. Why was she asking that question? Made
Yeah,
no
that's a
sense.
weird follow-up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she asked that question within, seconds of him calling.
How about is this your address? We have.
Yeah, right. You would think that would be more important. Not, is your arm still attached? Unless maybe it's fake, a 911 call.
Well, she wanted to know if she needed to
No,
lend him a
I think it's
hand.
real. Give him a hand. Oh, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna ask a trivia question. I think we have enough people in chat. So you ready for a trivia question?
Yeah.
Is everybody ready for a surprise trivia question to win a Bigfoot museum? Not that anybody wants that, to win one of those.
Greg Roberts is back there. Can he win?
Sure.
Oh, he can. You hear that?
No, he's disqualified.
Oh, he's disqualified.
He got one. No, he's disqualified. Okay. So, how many bones does an average shark have? That's the question.
Oh,
Uncle Bones should be able to know that. How many bones does an average shark have? So we can move on. Just gotta watch whoever hits it first.
782.
How many do you think, Alex?
1,138.
Okay. Yeah. Uncle Bones got it.
Did he?
0.
0.
Sharks don't have any bones.
Oh, they're all
Cartilage.
They're
Yeah.
all cartilage.
So Uncle Bones, we're proud of you that you won that.
Wow. So
So-
Tim was the most wrong.
Tim no, you were the most wrong.
Oh wait, no, I was the most wrong.
You're always the most wrong.
I don't count.
I still like your alligator trivia. Yeah, they walk and they stroll. Like, oh, what made you think an alligator strolls? Who comes up with that crap? Oh my God.
That's what happens when you're trying to look something up.
Alligators walk and stroll. So anyhow, all you got to do is get Alex your address, Alex at Untold Radio AM.com.
Yes, please
Email
me.
Uncle Bones your address and and you can tell us what scale you want. 164, which is Hot Wheels scale, or Matchbox car scale, or 148, which is bigger. So you can pick. So if you have a Hot Wheels collection, you might want that scale. So anyhow. Okay. So should we give away one more of those?
Yeah. Yes, we should. Greg is nodding his head.
Huh?
He's nodding. He wants it.
Oh, okay.
Another giveaway. He wants.
So how many people have we been told have walked on the moon? Alex, go. Come on, Alex. Come on, Alex. Let's go.
5. 5 people.
Okay. That's a good
That's a
guess.
solid number.
That's a super good guess. Not.
12.
Patrick got it.
12.
John was close. That's 12.
11.
Yeah.
9.
Some good
3.
guesses there. So Patrick, send Alex your address and we'll get you out of Bigfoot Museum. Tell us whether you want 148 or 164 scale. Anyhow, okay, enough of that crap. So I'm sure maybe everybody already saw this, but there was, I looked at the video and that's this ghost-like creature standing. It looks like it's on feet. Did you see this standing on the side of Highway 87 in Arizona? Did you see it?
I saw it once you sent the footage. It was interesting.
Well, maybe not everybody saw this. It's worth playing. I sent you the video E. If you can find it. It's kind of interesting because unless it's a garbage bag.
Yeah.
So you can pause it too when you see it.
Wait, is it? Right,
It's that thing right there. Yeah. It's just kind of a little bit translucent because you see the line through it.
Yeah, you can see it's transparent.
Yeah, translucent.
Translucent.
If it was transparent, you wouldn't be able to see it at all. Anyhow. Not trying to pick on you, Alex. We love you. Not trying to pick on the college education.
Translucent, guys.
Yeah, translucent. Anyhow, so I don't know what it is. I mean, it could be a Target bag, plastic bag blowing in the wind, but it looks kind of locked in there. Or maybe somebody did build something, out of, what do you call it, like gauze or translucent material as a joke and put it there.
Oh, they could have faked it, you think?
Yeah, right. Or the guy driving, the whole thing is faked.
Yeah, okay, I see. You're saying someone could have done it as a prank.
Yeah, sure. The guy with the cam could have done it as a prank.
Yeah.
Well, not as a prank, as a hoax to get hits on it,
Yeah.
to end up on Fox News or wherever. Okay, so enough of that. As I always say, enough of that crap. Should we go into my clip? What time is it? Oh, geez, yeah, let's hurry. Let's rush through some clip picks.
Okay.
I was going to mention before we start, there is a giant sargassum bog, or about the size of Texas, heading towards Florida.
Scary.
If it hits the Gulf, it'll be quite a mess of stinky, rotting weeds. And the sargassum, these weeds, they are floating out in the ocean all over, but they're important for fish and fish eggs and, little minnows and, the aquatic life in the ocean. But I don't think there's ever been a mass as big moving towards shore or just it's rare. So anyhow, that's heading towards Florida. So if you're planning a Florida vacation, you might want to check and see where that bog's heading.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this first clip is so interesting. This is like the most interesting thing you're ever going to hear about. So don't play it yet. They are now putting moving images. Now think about this. GIF images, otherwise known as GIF. You know, the GIF images. Moving movies, encoding them into bacteria that you can then watch into their DNA. So think about this. They're storing movies in bacteria DNA. This movie was successfully stored. It's also one of the first movies they were ever used for the motion picture camera, too, which is interesting. So, yeah, you can play this. People can read it. It's pretty self-explanatory when you think about it. So
Who needs a DVD when you have E. coli?
Yeah, they embedded it into E. coli. But what's cool about it, it replicates, you know, how pirates will replicate movies?
Yeah.
The bacteria replicates the movie.
So you never have to...
each piece of bacteria has that movie replicated in it.
So it's going to last forever.
Well, it could be our storage of the future.
Yeah.
You got to pour some like probiotics into your hard drive to keep the E. coli going.
Weird.
It's like I got the latest COVID hard drive. Powered by COVID.
Just don't crack it open.
It can hold 29 billion terabytes. So who knows? Yeah, it's just fascinating, you know. And if a bacteria can hold that much, how much could a virus hold? So there you go. Enough of that. I think it's nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Clip 2. This is just from small to large. Got to play it. Self-explanatory. But for those that don't know what a Wells catfish, this is a Wells catfish. They are massive. And I do not believe anything makes them ever stop growing. Ever.
How much does that thing weigh? It's huge.
Yeah, it's a nice fish.
It's like a dinosaur.
Yeah. So those are throughout Europe, and I think that is maybe one explanation possibly for some of the Loch Ness sightings or Wells catfish that have been released into the loch.
Something that big.
They certainly do well there. They would thrive in there. So anyhow, clip 3. This is interesting. It's one of these. I always find NASA filmed UFOs interesting. Then this got leaked out from the International Space Station. I think it was leaked out before. It was just the faraway shot. Suddenly now the close-up has been released. And what was interesting about this is the edges were glowing green, which was interesting. And they claimed that it zipped off at the end. It like expanded, like it got bigger, and then poof, it was gone. I don't know. This is all secondhand information. But watch the glow of it. It's quite interesting. You see how it kind of like did a thing? To me, that looks like CGI.
Yeah.
I'm very skeptical nowadays. But I'm not skeptical of the footage because I actually have this clip from God knows many, many years ago. But I've never seen it zoomed in.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you get really close.
This is the part that may be, you know, where it goes poof. So who knows? Are we even going to be able to believe anything anymore after AI gets commonplace where the common man knows how to use it?
No.
It's going to be a problem. It really is a serious problem for all of us.
Yeah.
And literally even on people, you know, you might see a podcast with me and Alex. It may not be us.
Yeah.
right?
This podcast right now might not be us.
Yeah, it might not be. I don't think it is. Okay. What do we got?
Another UFO.
Oh, this one's interesting only because I'm really interested in these sparking UFOs because I've seen one and it flew with inches within my car. And so we both saw it. Came out, it was literally on Radisson Road, came over the airport, went over my car, and it was even changing colors as it was sparking and then flew into the woods. So what does that? People say, well, it's a drone. This was no drone that I saw. It was a ball. It made no noise. But let's play this.
Okay, what is this?
All over. And the reason they're not drones, because generally you can watch them for
What are we seeing out here?
20 minutes, half an hour.
That's crazy. What is it?
Same thing I saw, except flew over the car. And it was
So, what is this weird thing in this?
yellow.
Is it fireworks that swirls around? I don't even think my phone sees it no more.
So the reason I'm interested is my personal experience. And what in the world, if it's a
Have you ever seen something like
craft
that?
from another world, okay, what the hell is it doing sparking?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just so weird, crude,
It is
like
super
Buck
weird.
Rogers. I don't know. Who knows? John here says ball lightning. It wasn't ball lightning. Ball lightning generally isn't going to spark much. Yeah, there is one place I wished I would have gone to when I was younger. There used to be the Ball Lightning Research Lab right on Marshall Avenue in Minneapolis, and I would go by there every day on the way to work. Ball Lightning Research Lab, and I never stopped in there. Every time I drove by, I wanted to. I was just chickened out every time. You know what I mean? It looked like Frankenstein's lab.
Yeah.
Can you imagine there just a
lab.
kid just swinging by in my old Mustang, knocking on the door, and the steel door. It's an old plain brick building. It's like God knows who would have answered the door. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. What else we got? See, this is an example of AI. Clip 5. This is a real place in China, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they ran the footage through AI and it polished the karst, the limestone spires. Do you follow?
It's beautiful.
So it's
yeah.
real footage. It is beautiful. There's a place in China, and it's actually very near where Giganto was found. And there's another one in Malaysia. It's the Gunung Mulu National Park in Malaysia. And so this AI just polished the karst, the limestone, to make it look like this.
Yeah.
That's scary to me. How you going to know? I knew because I was familiar with that area. I mean, it looked familiar, but I knew that the limestone was very jagged.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it's the real deal. It's just polished. The limestone's been polished to make it look like smooth. Okay.
Super cool effect.
Yep. Yeah, it is. But, man, I'll tell you, this AI is getting crazy. So I got to play one cute clip only because you got to wait to the end of this clip. Did you look at it, Alex?
I haven't had a chance.
Oh,
no.
okay. Okay. That's pretty cute. Bubble Boy. Go ahead and play it. You can play the sound.
Show Daddy how you blow your bubbles. Dip, dip, dip. Dip, 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 dip. Okay, now go blow them. Oh.
Oh, no.
Okay, now watch. Watch what comes out of his mouth. Oh my God. That is so something not you would have done, but Blaine. That's so something Blaine would have done.
What's the
Or even Dakota. She wasn't afraid of putting things in her mouth that shouldn't belong there. Anyhow. Okay. Let's see where we at here. Number 7. This will put us in the Bigfoot mood. It's Gorilla, just the way he's sneaky. It's at a zoo. He's sneaking off these jugs. But he's sneaking. You can tell he's sneaking
Oh yeah,
off.
he's looking around.
He's looking around. He's looking behind him.
I
He's
got.
because I get to play with him. Nobody else does. Anyhow, I just thought it was interesting. The way he's walking, he's kind of gingerly
Imagine
walking.
that
too.
a Bigfoot.
He's trying to be quiet. Yeah. So this will put us in the mood for tonight's conversation with Greg.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next one is an out of place animal, and you'll know what I mean in 2 seconds. Just play it. Can you imagine just walking the beach seeing this thing?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. I think that's the giant Pacific octopus. And it's just doing fine, just walking. God knows. I'm sure it's got its reasons. But you think they're alien in the water? Oh my God, they're so alien out, when they're not.
Yeah.
That's creepy. Okay, this clip 9 is the reason I love my Jeep.
The reason you love your
This
Jeep.
is the reason I love my Jeep. Blow it up bigger, Alex. Turn your cam off and see if you can get it bigger, so people can enjoy this.
Wow. It's still running.
Just keep the video going. This is why I love my Jeep.
I would have given up by now.
Hell no, just keep going. No, it's not done.
Now that
Heck yeah.
is how you get to Walmart.
Yeah, that's why I like my Jeep. You just got to hit the gas pedal harder. That's all.
Wow.
See, now you know. If you ever get in a situation like that, no problem. I mean, you would have thought I would have just flipped over. No, I didn't. Okay. This thing is a true giant. Speaking of big things, clip 10. Look at the size of this thing, and let me shut our cameras off so we can get this a little bigger here.
You want the sound? Wow, that thing is huge.
It's an elephant seal, but man, they're big. Maybe we should play that video after. Look like what?
It's
Why is it a garbage can?
I don't know.
Yeah, don't you just tempted just to go? We should do Doug's clips, but we don't play my clips. We play the clip when it's over
Oh no.
to see if they're better than one I picked. See,
The
What do you think?
bonus round.
We'll call it Doug's anti-clips.
The anti-clips.
Okay,
What's the
so
next one?
bonus clip. We'll just do one more, and then I'll tell you about Greg. We'll get him on. It's a feathered star, or it's a starfish. Super interesting.
Of course. And
Which one?
1 second here.
Did I not send it to you?
No, I deleted my tab.
You deleted it?
No, there we go. It's
Oh,
back.
there it is.
We're back.
There's a ton of these feathered-looking creatures in the ocean. Some are colored. They're amazing to me. Like, how does something get that showy? It's just insane. Doesn't look very edible either, does it?
No.
It's like something you just steer clear of. All right, enough of that crap. All right, guess time. So,
Yes.
Greg Roberts. So in August of 94, Greg had his first encounter with Bigfoot in Sky Lakes wilderness of southern Oregon. Okay. But it took him 24 years to learn what made the howl. So, and I'm going, well, he doesn't know it was a Bigfoot, but maybe he does. So, 24 years later, apparently, he was, let's see here, but it took him 24 years to learn what made the howl that woke him from a sound sleep at 2:30 in the morning. So another time, years later, after catching an episode of the show Mysterious Encounters, I don't even know if he knows that was my show. On the old outdoor.
He knows.
Does he?
He knows. He knows.
Is he brown nosing?
No, he's not. He's laughing
okay.
up.
Okay. All right. So the old outdoor life network. Greg set off to learn more about the creature he was certain existed, and that's kind of what happens. At some point, you just kind of get certain. It's like bigger chance it does than doesn't. This led him to an area of the southern Oregon Cascades that had everything they would require in a habitat. And in 2011, he established contact, apparently with a family group. Something I've never done. Can't say it couldn't be done. I think that's the ultimate answer to this whole mystery. Yes. If somebody could really develop super good trust. So anyhow, let's bring Greg Roberts on. And there he is.
Yep.
Hey, how's it going?
Mr. Golden Voice, Greg Roberts.
Oh, well, golden? Tinfoil maybe, but...
Yeah, you got a good voice.
Oh, thank you.
You should have been in radio, or you should have gone into radio full-time, Greg.
I did do that for quite a little while. I did the DJ thing. I did the play-by-play sports thing. Still doing the play-by-play sports side of things. So, yeah.
See, I'm picking talent here.
Yeah, well, you find it one way or the other, or it finds you one or the other. I'm not sure how it all works. But...
So, okay, well, let's start. Let's go back all the way to 1994.
Okay.
And why don't you tell that story, Greg, and get into as much details as you can.
Okay. I think like a lot of people, especially in this part of the world, you grow up hearing the stories, and you've heard this person had a sighting or that person found tracks. I had never heard anybody say I'd heard a sound. And so in August of 1994, myself and a companion, we headed into Sky Lakes Wilderness, and we were going to be looking for elk. That was our whole purpose in being out there. And so we hike out into the wilderness area, and the first day was great. We're into a lot of deer, a lot of elk, birds, squirrels, everything's going just fine. And then day two, we knew something was different right from the get-go. No birds, no squirrels, not seeing any deer, not seeing any elk. I mean, everything just felt unnaturally heavy and silent. And that was the best way to describe it.
There's a word for that, Greg. What is the word for that? I've heard the word.
Ominous.
Well, yeah, but whenever the forest goes silent, there's a word for it. Whatever. Maybe somebody can tell us.
Yeah. But all I know is...
But it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
And it's so quiet and still. It's oppressive. I mean, you feel it, and it is really unnatural. We never had a feeling of being watched, but we knew something just was not right out there. And it was really hard to pin down because, sun's out. It's a beautiful day. Warm day, but just the absence of nature. So we made our way about 8 miles, and we came to this meadow. There's a creek in it. We saw fish. As soon as we walked up on the creek, we go, genius place to make camp. We're stopping right here. We got fish to catch. Let's get on it. So, we caught fish. We had dinner. We're sitting around for a while, and then, feeling a little tired, rolled into the tent and passed out, sound asleep. And 2:30 in the morning, I wake up, and it's just like, whoa. And I'm hearing coyotes. I mean, a lot of coyotes going off. And I'm listening to it. I'm thinking, okay, coyotes, no big deal. And about the point I was starting to go back to sleep, all of a sudden, off to my northwest, there came a sound out of the darkness that I had never heard before, and it set every hair on my body straight up on end and just immediate goosebumps. And, I think we all kind of in this group now, we know it as the Ohio Howl. But that was my first time hearing it, and I was at a loss. I wasn't thinking Bigfoot at all. And I sat straight up in my sleeping bag and said, "What in God's name was that?" And my partner's, he's laughing at me. Rick's going, "I was wondering when you were going to wake up. I've been listening to it for half an hour."
Wow.
And it was right directly across the meadow from us, from our tent, when I first heard it, and loud. And he goes, "I couldn't believe you were sleeping through all of this." So we start talking. Okay, not a bear, definitely not a cougar, not a cow. What else is going to howl? And we were making note already of the coyote response back to it and going, okay, what's going to howl that the coyotes are going to reply? And neither one of us thought Bigfoot. We finally, by process of elimination, said, well, is this a wolf? Are we hearing a wolf? Because I'm going, it doesn't sound like a regular wolf howl, but why would the coyotes respond? So I was totally at a loss.
Let me interrupt you just for a quick second. For people that aren't familiar with the Ohio Howl, it's very much like an air raid siren.
Yeah.
Similar, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the old ones.
And I think we've all heard Bobo replicate it. We've all heard other people replicate it, but what it is, it's just flat. And just carries that note, and the sound of it ringing through the woods. And that was the other thing catching my ear, was the fact you could hear a ring.
Well, had you heard the okay? I'm gonna make you back up just a bit. Had you heard the Ohio Howl Matt Moneymaker recorded before this?
No.
So you didn't know it was the Ohio Howl?
No. And in
just
fact,
okay.
This is 10 years previous to Matt recording the Ohio Howl.
Wow.
I'm 10 years out in front of Matt getting that.
It also helps verify Matt's.
It absolutely does. The authenticity. And I'll tell you something else. Yes, I was very well aware of your involvement with Mysterious Encounters, because what you said about me not having an answer for 24 years was absolute truth. Wow. I never would have had the answer, except that old outdoor network that used to be on the air that carried Mysterious Encounters. They carried live ski races from Europe, and I'm an old ski racer, so I had tuned in to see the ski race, and I caught the very middle part of a Mysterious Encounters episode, and I'm watching it first. I'm going, what are these guys doing? And then they did a sighting recreation. I went, oh, Bigfoot, okay. And so then at the end of the episode, as you're well aware, they directed you to bfro.net, and they directed you to Autumn's site, OregonBigfoot.com. Well, I went to bfro.net first, and I get to the website, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see sounds. I went, sounds? Ooh, click. And of course, the first thing that comes up, now mind you, this is now 2008. The first thing that comes up is Moneymaker's clip of the Ohio Howl. The second I played that, I knew it was all over for me. They're real. They exist. Yes. Because what I heard was 10 years before Moneymaker's recording in Ohio. The dogs in Moneymaker's recording are responding at the exact point, in the exact way the coyotes were responding to what I heard. Game over. I was 100% in. I go, they're real. They exist. This is not a hoax. You can't get a guy to get to one of the most remote wildernesses in Southern Oregon, make that sound, then go to Ohio, replicate it perfectly, and get the canines of the area responding exactly the way that they are to Matt's call, only it's coyotes howling in response. It just made I was like, skin crawling, hair standing up. But on the other hand, I was like, whoa, I never thought about sound. So I immediately got immersed in becoming more of a sound expert. And I'm really kind of glad that I did, because people hear them far more often than they ever see. them or find a footprint. You hear them. They are extremely vocal, and they can do it with their voice. They can also do it by knocking. They can tree knock. They can rock knock. They produce sounds. And the biggest part of the reason why they're producing sounds, it's not just a Bigfoot. They're moving in family groups, and sound is a very important part of the family group. As they're out foraging and moving, they need the sounds to constantly be aware of where each other is at all times. They're keeping in steady contact with each other in one form or another, and most often that can be sounds. And the cool part is you actually start picking up on their patterning, and you can start identifying what some of that stuff is for. The Ohio Howl, at least from what I've been able to determine, that Ohio Howl is the rally call. The type that I heard, the type you heard Bobo trying to recreate, that's the dominant male saying, all right, everybody get together. The reason why to get together, I don't know that part yet, but I know that's a rally call because it carries a tremendous amount of distance. Buried within that also is another thing called infrasound. The infrasound also helps transport out over distance. So what may be far for us to be apart, for a Bigfoot, they can close and cover ground much faster than we ever can. So they do get spread out further apart from each other, but they can also close that distance rapidly when they want to or need to.
So slow it down, Greg.
Now you get me on a roll. Drop a quarter in.
Show's over. Goodbye. Yep. Good night, everybody. Anyhow, I want to enjoy this story. Okay. You're going, and you're just whoosh. So,
yeah, and hey.
Well, okay, well, let's back up. So it's that night you're hearing this thing. Mm-hmm. How did it conclude?
How it concluded was it kept moving off to the north. Eventually, we couldn't hear it anymore, but the coyotes still could hear it. The coyotes kept responding, even though we couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
The next day, we got up, and everything was back to what it was on the first day. Birds, squirrels, deer, elk, everything's visible. That was it. We were out there for a week. That was our one and only thing that was even remotely odd. And for years I was like, I have no idea what it was. Must have been a wolf. Well, then did you, when you came home, did it bother you, or you did think about it? No, it didn't really bother me because I just kind of was writing it off as it was a wolf. And I knew we had wolves in this area, even though the experts would say we didn't. I knew we did. So I was kind of like, okay, that had to have been a wolf that we heard, even though I was like, still good. Just something didn't seem right.
Interesting. But it just stuck with you. Obviously, you didn't forget it. Alex, could you find the Ohio Howl while we're chatting away here?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some people haven't heard it. Maybe
yeah,
not.
Because especially if you get Matt's, that's the key because of the canine response.
Yep, and it's Matt Moneymakers. What year did Matt record that? Wasn't it 91?
94.
94, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, my goodness. So, okay. So then flash forward, Mysterious Encounters comes on.
By the way, before we move on, sorry to cut you off here. I do have the howl if you want, if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah, I would like to play it. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you guys hear it?
It is interesting because it's almost like they are trying to mimic an air raid siren.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what it is. I don't know if David Ellis, I think David's in the chat. I don't know if he ever compared it to an air raid siren. But to me, it's like they're trying to mimic the damn thing.
It has that quality to it, and definitely that loud carry. But a wolf howl wolves have a lot of carry, but they just don't have the sheer volume. And then you definitely get that rise and fall with a wolf that you don't have with this. This is that long, sustaining note carrying.
Okay, so you see mysterious encounters. I keep and by the way, people, they can probably find that series. I think somebody pirated it up on YouTube. Some of the episodes.
Yep.
And that was the first series on Bigfoot ever, which is interesting. I never think about that, but yeah, it's too bad nobody watched it.
Well, it is, but on the other hand, I think it did get to enough people that then, of course, you springboard off of that to monsterquest, which begets Finding Bigfoot, which begets pretty much everything else that's followed on. So, it was important.
Yeah, it was, and we used a lot of technology, and we definitely took the subject serious. So,
you did, yeah.
So 24 years later, you hear this, you're connecting the dots. When do you actually go out and then have another experience, or are you looking for an experience, or what's going on then?
And before we continue, I just want you to know, Greg, I got all your photos. So at any time during the story, if you want me to bring them up, they're ready to go.
Well, let's answer your dad's question first, because the next experience happened pretty much right away. Because after getting into this, I reached out to BFRO. And they were going to do an expedition here in Southern Oregon in 2008. And I originally wanted to just be a part of the expedition, get out with them, maybe learn from them. Instead, the next thing I know, I'm getting contacted by them, and, they read what I put down, that I, been in these woods my whole life, wildland firefighter, hunter, avid outdoorsman, know it like the back of my hand. So they get in touch with me and say, hey, we've got this guy coming into Cave Junction, and would you be interested in helping him get out and look at some potential areas for the expedition? I'm like, sure, no problem. Well, the next thing I know, April of 2008 rolls around, and that's when Cliff Barrickman comes into my life for the first time, because Cliff was the guy who came to pre-scout expedition locations here, and I went and met him in Cave Junction, and we immediately hit it off, and we went and looked at a number of potential sites. But the site we really wanted to get to, and where we ultimately did do the expedition, we couldn't reach at that point of the year because of the amount of snow that was in there. But Cliff and I, we hit it off. Great guy, one of the best humans ever, and a friend. This
is pre-famous Cliff.
Exactly. Knew him before, that kind of thing.
He's the same guy.
He absolutely is. He hasn't changed a lick from that first moment I met him to who you meet when you go into North American Bigfoot Center today. That's a rare thing for a human, by the way, but Cliff has it, and I love him to death. Anyway, so we set the expedition up. It was Father's Day weekend in June of 2008, and we all get together. And then, of course, Matt's there, other guys like Bart Catino, Tom Yamarone. I mean, there were some good A-list type researchers there. And we get out, and my first night out, not only did I get to hear my first good power tree knock, which was pretty amazing. I mean, it was something that definitely caught your attention. We actually had a Bigfoot start vocalizing on the hill right above camp, totally unprovoked. And at first, our group where we went, we couldn't hear it. Matt gets on the radio and he's freaking out. We got a squatch going on right above the camp. Well, we start running back to get back towards camp, and we came up out of this dip we were in. And as soon as we gained some elevation, we could clearly hear this thing going off. So, from when I first became aware of what I had heard 24 years prior to when my next encounter happened, that I knew for sure what was going on, maybe 6 months. So January of 2008 to June of 2008.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, so you have this kind of home run right away.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing this stuff, but you haven't had a sighting yet.
Right.
But you're convinced even more now.
Oh yeah.
You're level 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're level 2 at this point, DEFCON 2. What's the next thing you do? What goes on in your life?
Well, I mean, Matt, he is a character in the Bigfoot world, but I will say this about Matt. He definitely pointed out things at that expedition that truly helped me go and scout the Southern Oregon Cascades. And he gave us more or less what I would say the guidelines. Here's what you look for to find areas where they're likely to be in. And I started searching all these areas in the Cascades that I felt were going to meet the requirements. We needed good year-round water. We needed great food source across the board, from vegetation to animals, flesh-based proteins. Then we needed areas of really dense, inaccessible cover. And I knew multiple areas, and I started honing in on particular spots that I felt like would fit that definition.
Okay.
And then in July of 2011, I hit pay dirt.
Okay.
I identified one particular area. I knew they had to be coming in there. There was a lot of berries, tons of berries, 6 different types, predominantly blackberries, marionberries, huckleberries. It had everything they were looking for. There's a lot of manzanita. They utilized manzanita both for cover and as a food source.
So the ground was
like,
set.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I've got my spot. Then I went back to it in the fall. I kept going back. And literally on the first date with my wife, found one of the best footprints I had ever found right next to the road. It was a no mistake. And I'm driving by and it was like, whoa, stop, get out, start looking. And I'm looking at a left foot in the mud.
Was it near a tree?
No. It was down at the bottom of a cut bank in the ditch right next to the road. And then I got to looking at it and figured out what this thing did. Literally jumped off that cut bank. It came down next to the road, kind of like in a track guy starting position with the knees kind of bent. We eventually saw where his arms were out to the side and his fist hit the ground. We could see impressions. But where his feet landed, one foot landed on these little pebbles and sticks, and that didn't leave anything, but the right foot hit mud, and it drove down 4 inches into the dirt. And at the time I made that discovery, I weighed over 400 pounds. I tried as hard as I could to make an impression in that soft dirt, couldn't even come close to it. And that's when I told my wife, I said, the other thing is, that thing jumped off the top of that cut bank. I'm positive of that, because there were no footprints coming down. It's just like he came straight down. And I started thinking of all these eyewitness accounts I had heard of people saying that when they saw it, it was kind of down next to the road. And at first they're thinking it was a bear. And then the thing stood up on 2 legs and walked away. And I went, okay, so he comes down, he lands, boom, boom. Okay, got it. He was crouched down. If you'd been coming down this road in a vehicle and you come around that corner, that's what you think you're going to see. There was a bear there in the ditch that suddenly stood up and went away on 2 legs.
Interesting.
So once I had the footprint, then I knew, okay, you really got the right spot. You have.
Alex? Do you have a photo of that? I gotta slow you down, Greg.
I know. I wish I
did.
did. We actually found the camera. We found a take and toss camera that we took pictures of all this that I still hadn't developed, but it says right on it, Bigfoot track. So Terry has that.
But you have some tracks.
Oh yeah. Yep, we've got some, and we're going to show people some of what we've been finding. But
so I'm just gonna back up a little bit. Yeah, it was just interesting that Matt got you kind of really. He's always so good about educating people.
He is.
He is brilliant. He's the one that educated me.
Hey, if you get past the fact that, well, I mean, he's Matt. He is what he is. But if you really listen to what he says, there is a lot of great information within that, and I know
certain groups of people or certain types of people get a little upset at his confidence.
No.
But it was that confidence that really swayed me into going, oh, I'm not crazy on the footprints I found. Because he made everything seem so normal.
Yeah.
And so it's a great quality that he has. He's a great ambassador.
But he's a type A, and not everybody's going to respond to a type A.
He is.
But,
yeah. Well,
like I said, I never would have gotten to the point I got without him. So then I knew they're in the area. I kept going back.
Right.
I kept trying to run into them, and I kept being frustrated. And finally, I'd had enough. August of 2011 was my make it or break it. Big, full moonlit night. I knew I had everything in my advantage. I knew the berries were on. I knew they'd been coming back through the area. I finally just decided, here's
what time of year? What time of year, Greg?
August.
Okay,
Yep.
So it's berry season.
And I just...
Oh, by the way, anybody in chat thinks Greg's going too quick, just say too quick. I'll rein him in. I'll rein the guy in.
Your enthusiasm is infectious, though.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you.
I'm teasing you, Greg. It's
Okay.
just you're so enthusiastic. We love it, but I still want to make sure we can pace.
Don't leave us
out.
behind.
Yeah. Okay, so it's August, berry season.
Mhm.
Perfect storm in your mind is
Yep.
going to happen,
Right.
because everything's perfect.
Yep. And I got frustrated, and I thought, I've got to be the anti-human at this point, because everything I've been doing, I was doing it straight out of the school, the way I'd been trained. And I thought I needed to make a move they wouldn't have anticipated me making. And so what I did, I go back out, have my buddy drop me off on the upper point of the road. There's a gate across the road to keep people from going up to a lookout. And I said, here's how we're going to play this tonight. You're going to drop me off at that gate, and I'm going to walk the nearly 3 miles back down the mountain to the camp, and let's see what happens. But I'm going to do this with no flashlight. I'm not going to be carrying a thing. It's just going to be me walking off down the road, acting like I didn't have a care in the world, because honestly, I didn't. Big, full moonlit night, could see really well, wasn't worried about a thing. So we execute the plan, drops me off. I sit and wait a half an hour, stood up and started walking down that road. And I hadn't gone more than, I'm going to say, probably about a half mile, maybe 2/3 of a mile. There's this little upgrade there, and there's this dip. And I come down through that, and I start moving up the upgrade on the road, and I start hearing movement off to my left. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting, because I knew it wasn't a deer. I knew it wasn't an elk. Also knew it wasn't a bear. But I knew it was something of size uphill from me.
Well, how did you know it wasn't an elk or a bear?
Because of 2 foot. And the movement just isn't right at all. And plus, deer and elk, they will generally, either they'll take off, or they'll start doing something to attract your attention. Snorting, blowing, stomping. Yeah. It wasn't doing any of
so
the
it's kind of pacing
stuff.
you. It's pacing you, basically.
It's moving along with me. And I get to the top of that little rise and did the quick look back. And when I did the quick look back, I see a big one immediately move and get back behind a tree. And I was like, success. Finally. This is what I was waiting for. And turned and kept looking back. And then all of a sudden I see him doing this, coming around the tree, looking at me. And I went, okay, this is good. I got you right there. Was I scared? No. Was I kind of awestruck? Yeah. But I wasn't scared, because I'd kind of been getting myself mentally prepared for this moment. I mean, I knew what I was going to be encountering. I'd done my homework. So just to finally see one, just was getting that quick look. And it was like, okay, I wasn't getting the full wide out in the open, come stand by me, intimidate me thing. I wasn't getting that. So it was like, all right. So I start moving off down the road some more. Then I'm picking up additional movement and realizing this one up here is not alone. And I'm going, okay, so there's at least 2 now. Come down over a dip, start working my way on the downslope, and there's this big manzanita patch off to my right and downhill. And then all of a sudden I hear a big snap crack in the manzanita patch, and I kept walking and then abruptly turned and did the look down to the right, and I see a head peeking up over the manzanita that did the quick duck down. And I'm going, great. I'm being paralleled by multiples on both sides of the road. And I'm going, this has worked out really well. They're so curious. They have to come in and see me and figure out, what is this guy doing? Because I'm just walking off down the road. So I start moving and going further.
So just let me back you up. So at this point, you're not afraid.
No.
None. I would be scared crap. I mean, I would definitely be scared.
You know, I think it all comes down to if you're prepared for it. It's an entirely different kind of a thing than being unprepared.
Yeah.
And again, this is 3 years in.
I know, but is this a quality that you have generally as a person where you're just kind of, I mean, I don't know you, and I personally would, if I was alone, which you were, I would be thinking about bursting into a full run.
No, because running in the woods from things gets you into trouble. You can fall, you can get hurt. When you run other things, predatory things, bears, cougars, that invites even bigger trouble.
Exactly. That's
I've
why it would be
always
stupid.
stood my ground with every major predator I've encountered. The only one I haven't directly encountered yet is a wolf. But I've had bears get real close and just stood my ground. And, you know, sometimes when they start doing and start popping their jaws at you, it gets pretty tough to stand your ground. It's even tougher with a cougar. Cougars, I had a stare down with a cougar that was getting pretty intense. And then the cat started doing that little half crawl thing up on me because it was trying to figure out exactly what I was. Well, I was armed that time because it was elk season. And it reached a point where I'm like, okay, kitty, I'm done with you, and cranked off a shot. And then that thing took off. But
so do you even have a flashlight with you?
No.
I know you're not using it.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything.
You have nothing.
Nothing. Just me walking down the road. And the moon, it is so bright. You didn't need it. Trust me. You could see everything. So I start moving off down the road. And then the next thing that happened is what I call the kid test. Because remember, when I turn and look, first I'd seen the one big one. Then I'm walking along, and as I start going down this slope, all of a sudden I turn and look, and I see the big one, but I saw a smaller shadow dive in behind a tree. And I'm going, well, there's another one right there, and there's a smaller one. So I'm thinking, juvenile? Gotta be, because that one's big. This was small. So I start walking off, and the next thing I know, little pebbles, not big, but enough to get your attention. Little pebbles, little pine cones, not great big ones, not tossed with intent, but definitely arcing up over my shoulder, landing in the road in front of me. And I knew what they were doing. They were trying to get me to bolt and panic. And I'm just like, no, I know you guys are playing. I know what you're doing. I'm just going to keep walking.
So, okay.
Walking.
So your sighting was good enough where you knew for sure you had seen one.
Yep.
Just one, though.
Well, actually, no.
No.
By this time, I'd seen 3. Remember, I've got 2 uphill, a bigger and a smaller one. And then I had one looking over the manzanita that when I looked down and caught him, I saw my head peeking up, and then he ducked. Well, then, as I come into this little bend in the road, I look back over to the manzanita, and I see 2 heads peeking up over the top of the manzanita at me. So now I know I've got 4. And they're just following me and watching me. They were watching me, I think, more with intent, because they're sizing me up. And I truly believe this. They were sizing me up going, this guy, what's with this guy?
Well, can you describe what you actually saw, though? You say their heads are sticking. What are you seeing? Hair?
No.
Are you seeing a silhouette?
What I could see was a silhouette. I could see the shape of the head.
Okay.
I could see the definite outlines. I could see the shoulder. The shoulder was just huge, coming down to a huge arm. The chest area was massive. I mean, on this big adult, the smaller one that I was getting a look at, he'd dive back into the fir thickets and just completely disappear. But the big one that I am positive was our dominant male of the family group.
Are you seeing?
Daddy. He's given me enough to see the head and to see this. I can see basically everything sticking out around the tree.
Are you seeing any kind of shine or sheen on the hair?
Not at this point. It
No,
was
okay.
still because he's kind of also there's shading from the trees,
Right.
but there was enough light I could see, but I wasn't getting shine.
But
in
just
that
basically
sense.
all black.
Yeah, all
Jet
black.
black. Okay.
It was all
all-
black.
All the ones I'm seeing, what I'm seeing is black.
Okay.
And, people have asked, well, could you see skin? And not really, because it's all kind of blending. So I keep moving off down the road. They keep paralleling me, just watching me. And every once in a while, get a little toss over the shoulder. I'm still laughing, going, I'm not running. Come around the trail or the bend in the road, and now I can see our lower camp.
How big were the rocks that they were throwing?
Maybe yay big.
Not were
Yeah,
they
no.
like? Do you think they were being thrown underhand, type lobbed?
Lob for sure. They're
Okay.
not thrown with hostile intent.
Right, you can kinda-
I've
yeah.
had
Right,
I've
you
had a
can
lot
tell.
of people describe the hostile intent, and those are much bigger. Just seeing this, could I hear any chatter or other sounds? No, they were absolutely silent on this
Okay.
one. It was stone cold quiet, except for the sounds of their movement, and then this lobbing of these little rocks and pine cones at me. So as soon as I made the turn where I can see our lower camp, where my buddy's down there waiting for me, they immediately split. And I knew they quit following me because now I'm getting down closer to the camp. And I think that at that point, they're like, okay, we could get spotted. So they broke up and I got into the camp. And the first thing that happened, Jeff's like, well, what happened? I go, dude, I got parallel all the way
Yeah.
down.
Okay.
They followed me all the way in here. So the next
Well,
thing
just
that happened,
hang on just a second, Greg. Sorry.
no problem.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But people are concerned. We have not talked about Bigfoot babies yet. We are going to get deep into that, right?
Yeah.
And that's coming up. And I see Michael Freeman. He's got to go. Apparently, he's got to go to work. He was in
Yeah.
the chat, and that's the son of Paul Freeman, one
Mhm.
of the most famous Bigfooters in the world. And we are going to talk about your father and some really cool stuff, Michael. So yeah, watch the show later. When you have time. Okay.
And by the way, real quick, we have to talk about that because once again, you had a major impact for me that helped me have a breakthrough on something I'd been wondering about. But back to this, we're sitting there and we're talking, and where we're situated, we're right next to that road. I come down, and then
So you're back with your friends now,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm back with my buddy, and there's this draw across from us that goes up into this reprod area that's full of berries and manzanita. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, wow, that's weird. I saw these two red things that look like dim tail lights, and I'm like, what is that? There's no road over there. What am I looking at? And I was really puzzled, and all of a sudden I see the blink. I went, whoa, and I stood straight up. And immediately, boof, disappeared. And I was like, whoa. And he goes, what do you see? And I said, I think I just saw one right over there looking
How bright?
at us. I was
How
looking
bright
at
of red? How bright of red was it?
It wasn't really super bright. It was more kind of a dim color. But it was red.
Like a
And
tail light, yeah.
so out of place. Yeah, it looked like dim tail lights. Not like a vehicle with their brake lights on, but you know how when they, at night, you'll have the tail
Like an
lights
old
on the back?
1157 bulb.
Yeah, and that's I was until I saw the blink, I was
Yeah.
really puzzled. Then I saw the blink and realized what I had to have seen. So I was like, whoa. So I sit back down and he's like, what? And I go, dude, there was one standing right there on the trail going up to the cut over there. I swear to you. And he goes, well, that's interesting. We didn't hear any sounds. We didn't know anything was going on. It's just all of a sudden there's that eye shine. So we're sitting there and I look up and I see one and then I see two and I'm like, he's back. And of course, Jeff does the what? And immediately goes back. And I'm going, no. The next time I tell you it's back, don't snap your head. Don't do anything sudden. Just gradually turn your head to the right and then look up. You're going to need to look up. And he went, okay. So we start talking. First, I see one come back. Then I see two. And then I say, okay, he's standing there looking at us again. This time, don't turn quick. Just slowly took your head around to the right. And he did it. Then he lifted his eye point, and when he saw it, then it was like, oh my God. And he saw it. And he's just standing there, and we're talking. And he watched us, and then he turns, and we hear him move off and go off into that cut area where I'm sure they were probably foraging around over there because the berries are on. We went over the next day. We saw the tree he was standing next to, and he kept ducking behind. And then I had Jeff go back and turn, and then estimating where he had to have been eye level for where the ground was and everything, we were estimating 8 to 9 feet tall.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Alex, do you got something to slow Greg down?
Tranquilizer.
No.
Doesn't
A question.
Well, Greg, when can we show your photos? You got some.
Yeah,
interesting ones.
we can go ahead and do that. What I'm going to set up here, this area that, I've been having my contact with my family group, and it's been going on since 2011. This is where they go in the summer. I was wondering where they went in the winter, and then a friend of mine, James Monson, called me up one day, and he's all excited. He's going, "Hey, we found this thing. I have got to show you and see what you think of it." And I went, "Okay." So he's like, "There's these bones all over up here." And I was like, "Really? Tell me about this." He goes, "Yeah, it's weird. It's like they got dropped out of the sky." He goes, "We can't find any tracks directly to them. We're finding bones that are snapped. I mean, broken into with the marrow out of them." And I went, "Oh, okay, let's go check this out." So we drive up into this spot, and it is exactly the kind of spot that if you're intelligent and you're going to spend the winter, you need to find a spot with very thick cover that's got some thermocline areas so it'll stay a little bit warmer than up on the ridges, lots of deer and elk around, lots of good winter forage. And this place has it in abundance. This is in April when you're seeing this, and what you're looking at, there's a spur road that comes off of one of our main BLM roads. This is the very end of the spur road is right here. I took this shot looking down into it. I've had
okay, well, hang on a second, Greg.
Yeah.
So this is the bone story
Yeah.
that me and you talked about. This is
Yep.
super interesting. I also want to mention thermocline. A lot of people don't realize, like if I hike or bike ride or whatever, man, those thermoclines can be dramatic.
Yeah, they can.
In temp, and they can be very, very stable.
Mm-hmm.
You could be literally 100 feet in a different spot, and it's 10 degrees hotter.
Yep.
Or 20 degrees hotter, or 20 degrees cooler, and it just stays there depending on elevation. Cool air will settle into the lower areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying this is an area that stays warmer, correct?
Yeah, this is more of a mid-slope area.
So there's an area where the cold air gets sloughed off into another area. Okay,
that's right. It drains off.
This is something that most people I never hear anybody ever talk about this. I first discovered these thermoclines when I was a kid. I mean, they were so dramatic, and of course, it affects water too.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens in lakes. But if you've never experienced it, it is incredible if you get into the right area. So I could imagine this area could even be as high as 25 degrees warmer, correct?
Yeah, it definitely can. And with our topography here in Southern Oregon, these thermoclining situations are very, very commonplace. And so to find this area, I was like, okay, this kind of fits a profile for a wintering area because you got this big valley down below, which not only pulls the cold air, but helps drain it out. Then you've got the higher peaks up above. And then you have this middle area with a lot of benches and fir thickets and evergreens. That area is staying warmer, and there's a spot where sunlight can penetrate and get in. And that was another thing that immediately caught my attention going,
Right.
okay, so for a wintering spot, this is going to be a great spot for them to be.
Oh, so to summarize how this could help people, and that is look for areas that are really cool in the summer, right next to areas that are warm.
Yep.
And you may find your activity in the summer in those cool, because what a great place to sleep, to bed down in those cool thermal. I mean, I've gone to places in the summer where you got to put a coat on until you get out of that area where that cold air is pooled. And then you get out of there and then you're hot again. You're 90 degrees.
My primary research area with the amount of snow that we have now in that, we have more snow up there right now than we have had since I discovered this spot. I have no doubt that the north-facing slopes in the trees are going to hold snow cover, maybe even clear until we get to August, September. It's going to be a totally different world up there this year.
Very cool. Okay. So, all right. So back to the bones. Sorry.
So anyway, I got to backtrack on this I almost left out one key detail. So my buddy James takes me up to this spot. We did not drive straight into this. We parked along the main BLM road and we followed the spur road in to get to this point. We left the truck. We weren't even 300 yards out of the truck. And I hear, "Roop." And I immediately stopped, and James was behind me, and he goes, "What?" And I said, "We just got whooped at." And he goes, "Is that what that was?" And I said, "Yes, that was a whoop." And I whooped back, did the exact same sound right back to it. Whoop. And then nothing further. And James goes, "I had never heard it before to know what that was." And I said, "That's exactly what it was." So we keep moving off down the road. I keep looking. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not hearing any movement. And then we move in and we get back to that picture that you had up. And I'm looking down into this little gully area. And that was my first viewpoint of it. And I'm looking down there and I'm going, okay. And James goes, "Come on, let's go down into this." So if we can put up picture 2, Alex. Right. Okay. Thank you. We start coming into this. You can see how there's kind of this side hill look. I'm side hilling along here. And actually, now that I look, you can see a bone right there on that log. There's a bone there. And there's bones. I'm picking up bones being scattered around all over in this area already as we're starting to transition up through here. Let's go ahead and hit number 3. Okay. This is me looking up the slope. And, you can kind of see exactly what this is. It's good, open, down on the ground area. And I'm finding all these bones, but what I'm already noticing is I'm not finding any sign of bears. No tracks, no scat, no nothing. And with all of these bones, I'm like, this is not right. Something's very wrong about this spot. There should be bear sign all over the place. I should be walking on bear scat all over here, and there's none. And that really grabs my attention even more to go, okay, what's really going on here? So let's put up next picture. So I was trying to see if I could spot it. Down here, kind of in that lower left, you can see thicker trees. That little grove of trees here in a minute is going to turn out to be pretty important. You can see bigger bones. There's like a jawbone right there in the right-hand side on the ground. You can see the white. That's a jawbone right there. There's other bones scattered around that you can look and pick them out. I mean, they're just bones all over here. Some are older. Some are getting some moss and other lichens developing on it. Some are fresher. They still have blood staining on them. I mean, these bones had been arriving at this spot over a period of time for a long time. But as James had told me, there's no obvious human sign here at all. And on the bones, we're not seeing bullet fragments. We're not seeing knife cuts. We're not seeing axe marks. We're not seeing anything that indicated humans were doing anything involved here. And I was blown away. No,
teeth mark, nothing. Okay.
not seeing teeth marks, but we were finding bones that were snapped in half exactly how James had told me they were going to be, and the marrow's gone. So let's go ahead and put up next picture. Okay, this is a pretty good example of the types of bones we are finding. These are big leg bones that you can see here in this shot. And these bones, these are what we're finding that have been snapped with the marrow being taken out of them. And it was about this point that we picked up the odor for the first time. By the time I remember taking this picture, we'd been in here probably about an hour and a half already, just taking a look around at what we had. And then I remember hearing a sound downhill to my kind of northwest rather. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And then we pick up this odor. And it was unmistakable Sasquatch odor. I mean, you think of barnyard, wet dog, skunk, sour smelling, just all rolled together. And James was immediate like, whoa, what is that? And I go, dude, we're downwind of a Sasquatch. There's one close to us, because it was like, make your head snap. Oh, like smelling salts kind of effect. And I knew he was close. And then I hear thud. And remember that little group of trees I showed you was right there in that group of trees. And James looked at me and I said, it just jumped. That's what that was. And I take off running down towards those trees because I was going to flush it. At this point, I wanted to bust this guy out in the open, so I go running right at the tree. He dives and heads down into the gully, into the brush. James can see the top of the brush whipping around, but he can't see him, and this thing's flat out running on two legs. So you definitely heard bipedal running, big guy running downhill right through all this brush. And I was like, man, and I come back, and James is looking at me, he's going, I can't believe you ran right at that thing. I go, yeah, I challenged him a little bit, and he gave ground. So we get back to what we're doing, looking at these bones, working our way through this area, and I'm picking up this stuff and looking at it, and then we smell the odor come back.
Okay, and so the odor is transient.
Yes, it's coming and going.
And I've experienced that. It's really weird when it's like not there at all, and then it's like almost like you've been blasted with it.
Because what they're doing, they move and shift positions, and then when they get upwind on you, then that's when you pick up the odor coming back. Well, we knew every time he would move into a certain point to us because we'd be able to smell it. But we weren't hearing obvious sounds, and I kept stopping and listening, and I kept looking, and I'm looking as hard as I can, trying to take the brush apart to spot him because I know he's right there. Well, long story short, we spent 3 hours total in there, and I'm looking all over. We didn't find their footprints. We didn't find any obvious signs of them being there, but absolutely no bear sign. And I told James, I said, whatever is going on here, they're protecting this spot because there should be bear tracks. There should be piles of bear scat here. There is nothing. So they're utilizing this. It's
how many bones? Meal. How many bones were in there?
Hundreds. Literally
hundreds. How many were broken in two?
Some of the bigger leg bones like this, we probably had at least 3 dozen of the bigger leg bones that were snapped in half, and the marrow is completely gone.
Sucked out.
Yeah. So, right here, you can tell it's sunny. Well, the day we had a lot of showers moving in, and then showers started moving in, and it starts raining and then mixing in a little snow. And, I'd pretty much seen enough, but I grabbed some of these, bones to take home and give it an even closer look, magnify it to see if I could see something maybe I'm missing with the naked eye. So James and I hike back out of there. We get back to his truck. We're driving down the hill, and we run into the guy who was with James when he originally found this. He had no idea we were going up there. James had no idea he was coming up. So we kind of pass each other there on the main road. We say hi, and I'm just up there and blah, 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 take off. The next night, James calls me and he's all excited and he goes, "You are not going to believe what happened last night." He called me at home and said, "Hey, that was a pretty neat little trick you guys did, leaving the deer skull in the road." And I was like, "What?" And then James said his buddy got right to the spot where we had parked, gets out of his truck, and there is the skull of a doe right in the middle of the road to go down to this area. And I never saw the skull of a doe. And as soon as I heard that, I said, "James, we got gifted."
Yeah, that's
That
common.
thing watched what I was doing.
It's actually pretty common.
Yeah, he goes, it knew I was harvesting these bones and thought, "Oh, if you like that, here's something for you," and left us that skull. But Matt got there first and found it.
I think Randy Bauer's been gifted about 100 deer skulls at this point. So,
by the way, B. Lynn, yes, thank you for putting that up. No, even when I got them home under magnification, I could not see any obvious teeth marks. I also was looking to see if things like porcupines or rats had been going in and gnawing on them, and I just didn't even pick up even on rodent type activity. It was really strange about this. It just, I didn't really know what to think of this until I happened to mention something to a buddy of mine who's an Oregon State Police game trooper, and he told me, "Oh, I know exactly where you're talking about. We had a poacher who was operating, and he was dumping stuff up there. And one of the things that I found that made no sense to me at all was a goat skull that had an obvious bullet hole in it." And I was like, "Okay, what's going on here?" Well, found out this guy was using the goat as live bait for cougars, and he decided, well, I don't want to mess with the goat anymore, so he capped the goat and shot it and then dumped it off there. So now I knew exactly what had happened. Well, once they caught that poacher and he quit throwing more remains out there over a period of time, well, they realized the easy buffet was over, and so they quit frequenting that particular area.
interesting.
Oh, great question. What do I think they belong to? Well, I'm positive on what they belong to: deer, elk, cattle.
So was the guy poaching cattle?
No, he was poaching deer and elk, but you use cattle. He's using those for bear bait. He was using it to, he was using a variety of things to help bait bears.
Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, other people have reported, finding, quite a few bones together where the marrow's been sucked out and,
Yep.
The bone's been snapped in two, which really takes hands to do.
Yeah, because these were absolutely snapped. And I mean, I did try and snap some just by way of experiment. Couldn't do it.
Yep. Tristan, did you ever find bones anywhere around in your research area in Washington?
Hey, hang on a second. I'm going to throw some more light on me. Hang on. I look like
you're getting dark, Greg. There we go. Yeah, it's actually even light when we go on onto our podcast now, Alex. Normally it's dark. It was light today,
which was nice.
Yeah. Well, we had a nice, beautiful sunny day, and I had not a nice natural light, and then now I don't.
Okay. All right. So we figured out where the bones came from, blah, blah, blah. So where do we go next, Greg?
Let's get to the trackway, the possible trackway that we found in there, because this was something, honestly, I'd forgotten about this until I went to go back and get these bone pictures, and I was like, oh, yeah, duh. We found what we were investigating as a possible trackway. So, Alex, if you can put up track number 1. More look at the bones. By the way, that shot, you can see a newer one and an older one. Okay, here's this thing that we were down low, and all of a sudden I look, and I'm almost making direct eye contact with this. This is the top of this rock. You see that area to the left where the moss is pulled away.
Yeah.
Then you've got that bare area, definite footprint appearance to it. And it's right because it's kind of back and then broadens out to the 4 foot. area. So that got my attention, but I'm looking at this over here on the left that you can tell the moss was just recently dislodged. Okay, again, I'm over 400 pounds. I tried to replicate this and I couldn't do it. That moss, basically, it just, my weight on it, like no problem. But something came along, you can see, and stripped that. There's an older one there to the right, which is more clear looking, and then the fresher one there to the left, and you can see it hanging. And I was like, that is crazy. What did that?
So how much do you think this thing weighed?
To be able to do this, I got to figure at least twice my body weight at over 400. So we're talking probably 800 pounds.
800
something in that range to do this. Because it blew my mind looking at it, trying to figure out how much force do you need. And I experimented in it. No, I didn't get anywhere with this at all.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The impact.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, let's do. So this is a better look. You can see this is what's catching my eye. I mean, you can see how thick that layer is and how it's pulled down. But then I had this little area right over here, and I'm trying to make heads or tails out of what happened here, because obviously this isn't as kind of foot-shaped as the older mark is. So, hard to say here. But what I found really interesting is the way this thing overall shape is dramatically different than what's older and just over there to the right. But still, the amount of force required to pull that moss off and get it to do that.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to put enough leverage to it to be able to do that. The smaller mark there, a more compressed area, we could do it with the tool that we had, but I'm looking at all this together and go, this is more of the mystery of that particular location. Kevin, at this spot, no, but at my primary area higher up where I encounter them in the summer and into the fall, absolutely, we found tree structures in there.
Yeah, let's keep it moving, Alex.
Okay.
So this, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it, because this is such a nondescript thing. I don't know. Okay, was this a hand? What did this? I'm still looking at that and trying to get any kind of a feel. And the more as time has gone on, and then refreshing this and looking at this and knowing I was coming on with you guys, I really don't know what to make out of this. I'm kind of at a loss to.
Could be a left hand, yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough to try and figure what happened there. But it is, given the location and everything else occurring, it was interesting. Okay, so then we drop the tape measure in, and you're getting a better idea. So obviously the top of the tape measure is over here where the top of the foot was, and you see 14 back there. So you're getting a better sense of how long that footprint was, and then you're going to see another one where we're spanning it. Oh, we're spanning what was directly next to it to try and see if there was any uniformity, and there truly wasn't. And again, the way this is kind of all disturbed in here, that kind of made that tough, but we wanted to see if we could get a match in terms of the width of the impression, but it didn't.
I mean, all of this could have been picked off with hands, too.
It may have, but again, that overall shape, and then, see, here's that little mark, and I just decided to kind of measure it out just to get an idea of, in terms of width, and see if I could have any kind of a benchmark to try and find to, correlate to that, and I haven't. That's a total random to me.
So can you repeat that? Were all these right by each other, like in the same location?
Yep.
Yes.
This is on that rock.
Yeah, this is all right there where we found those bones.
In Southern Oregon.
Yep.
Somebody
Same
had asked
location.
whether it's Ohio. No, it's Oregon.
And were there more of them that you didn't take photos of, like in, you know what I mean, like some sort of a trackway or?
In that particular spot, we didn't get photos on that there. We've had other opportunities to get photos, but in terms of a really good, clear, visible, long duration trackway and something like soft dirt, snow, I'm just trying to think of the looser surface type things that will leave good long trackways. I haven't had the opportunity to really discover that. Honestly, the longest trackway that I've seen wasn't even clear tracks. It was in the 2008 BFRO expedition. The night before I got there, they had a camp visit. And everybody was talking about it, and everybody was trying to determine where the thing came into camp, but also where it exited camp. And they had searched all around in the morning, and they hadn't seen obvious sign. Well, I get there in the afternoon with a different sun angle, and I start looking around, and there was this really old spur road with this kind of moss and low-growing vegetation on it. And with the sunlight now directly behind me looking at this, all of a sudden I saw the impressions, and it just lit up like a spotlight and pointed and said, there you go. It walked straight out down this old spur road, exiting the camp, headed to the southeast from the camp. And there was no doubt about it. They were impressions. They weren't anything. I mean, Cliff was there, and if they'd been any kind of footprints, Cliff would have cast it. But they were just impressions in the moss, and I immediately picked up on it. And then we were looking at the general size and then the width, and they matched up. That's the closest thing I've had to a good long duration track find so far.
All right,
and I say so far.
Let's keep it moving, Alex.
So that's
do we have more
photos.
pictures, Greg?
No, I think that might actually be it for what I call the Boneyard goalie. But I was extraordinarily happy to have that experience because I now knew. I felt like I had a pretty good feel of where my family group might have gone, because that explained what happened when we were coming in. Call me crazy, call me whatever you want, but I got the whoop, just the one. And it was basically the form of, hello, we know who you are. And I whooped back at it. And then it just followed me around, watched what I was doing, left the doe skull in the road for me as a gift. So, yeah, I'm firmly convinced that the family group was there somewhere, but we just happened to catch whoever was on sentry duty, watching over the area to keep the bears out of it, that type of thing. And he saw me come in and recognized me. He knew who I was.
So is this the same area now that you've continued to do research in?
Not this one in the winter, because I prefer to get close to them in the summer. Winter's tough enough.
Yeah.
And if they're feeling good and secure about a wintering spot, I really don't want to get in there and push them in the winter. Winter's hard enough, especially the one we're having now. But in the summer, oh man, we'll get up there. And I had a Chevy Colorado, and what I eventually loved about it was I'd pull up, I'd park, I'd shut that thing off, and as soon as I shut it off, I would either get 3 whoops or I'd get 3 tree knocks, and then I would always respond with the whoop, just, okay, I'm here, we're here, and then it was game on at that point. And again, I was a much different me than the guy you're seeing now. I'm 400, 500-pound guy. So a lot of what I had to do was just sit and be immobile. And I think by sitting and being immobile, it did 2 things. Number one, they knew I wasn't really going to be a big threat. And number 2, it allowed me to really sit and listen. And I think listening and being still and being quiet and not trying to pretend that you know what's going to happen. You sit and listen with an open mind and observe everything. Has served me so well with them. It helped me establish the fact that among all the ways they communicate, buried within it is a code. and it's a 3-1 code. And I started noticing this popping up a lot just by listening. And I've been in Bigfoot groups and heard people say tree knocking is a form of threat or whatever. No, tree knocking is a form of communication they do with each other too. Because I'm just sitting there not presenting a threat, no other humans around. They're still tree knocking back and forth. But what they'll do, 3 whoops, 1 response. 3 tree knocks, 1 response. 3 rock knocks, 1 response. 3 rock stacks with 1 moved around on the perimeter to indicate a direction where either they've gone to or they've come from. I'm still trying to get that part exactly figured out, but I think it's more where they're headed. Or, and Les Stroud, and we watched it happen on Survivor Man, and Les, if you hear this, I've been trying to get in touch with you since your Smoky Mountains episode because you and your preacher bud had something significant and you didn't even realize it. They're arranging rocks, 3 rocks in the triangle pattern with 1 to the outside, and they were showing how they were leaving the rocks out on the logs, and then they'd show up and the rocks had been arranged. That's significant. And then to see the 3-1 code show up in Tennessee that I was seeing happen here,
Greg,
I was like, I'm on, okay, we're on to something here.
What? Yeah. So do you know what is the significance of 3 with them?
We have Morse code. They have a code that they're using, and it's a 3-1, and I am not sure yet what the real meaning behind all of this is, but it's a pattern that repeats in their communications to themselves regardless.
So you think it might be like some sort of Morse code, but for them to communicate.
Right. And I'm still working on it, trying to get it all figured out, but it's, like the song says, working on mysteries without any clues. Well, half the time, that's where I'm at.
Well, okay, let's flash forward to today. So where are you doing your research in the summer nowadays? And what are you learning and what are you experiencing? And what have you seen?
The exact same spot that I've been going back to. Because once I found the spot, I have taken others in there. And we've had encounters happen. Sadly, the guy that I keep taking in there that I want to have an encounter, Bart Catino, Bart's got the really cool handheld FLIR thermal recorders. And I truly believe that those are going to produce the next great Bigfoot video because they pick up on all the other stuff. They pick up on the cameras. They pick up on the electronic signals. They're fully aware. And I don't go out there packing electronics. That's something I don't do because I know they're picking up on it. Now, I saw somebody earlier ask about putting audio recorders out. I am definitely going to put audio recorders out because, now that I know how to set those things up and which ones to get for getting the best, audio, hearing it clearly, we are definitely going to be planting digital audio out there and seeing what we pick up. And we're just going to be leaving it and just let this stuff record natural and then come back and see what we're picking up. Because a lot of what I'm hearing, I have been hearing it for years. This isn't like new and they don't change. They have their communication patterns. They have their exact same way of communicating. It repeats over and over. You hear a lot of the same things. In fact, some of the fun stuff that happens is when they're mimicking other things like owls or coyotes. And I'll never forget listening to a juvenile trying to learn to do a coyote howl. And he literally did a Peter Brady and his voice broke in the middle of it. And I couldn't help but laugh and chuckle and go, yeah, that's not as easy as it sounds, is it, Sports?
He was going through puberty.
Yeah, well, you try and learn to mimic that coyote howl. And I have an uncle who could actually pull it off. And he's the only human I've ever heard who could do it. But it's a very difficult sound because we've all heard it. You can get a couple of coyotes out there and they can sound like a whole pack. They have that amazing ability. Well, even one coyote. So when you're trying to mimic those howls, it's really hard to do. And then, of course, with owls, well, you've got owls that can produce a range of sounds that, is that a Bigfoot? And then sometimes you're going to hear an owl call that the volume of it the intensity of it, it's like, yeah, that's probably about a 20-foot tall, 8,000-pound owl. I don't think I want to see that, but they'll mimic those things too.
So Todd asked whether you're going to talk about your Big Daddy close encounter.
Oh, he's aware of this one. Okay. Well, one night, just sitting there listening to the family carrying on, I was sitting on this log, and there's this big ravine that goes into this deep canyon that they traverse, and they use this canyon as a main travel way to go up and down on this mountain that they're at. And it gives them, of course, great cover. It's really rugged. Humans just not going to go stumbling in there. So I'm kind of sitting over on the side, on the south end of this thing, and I'm sitting on this log, and I hear this sound behind me, and I'm thinking, that sounds like a rat. And I'm not really paying much attention because I'm listening to them kind of traversing along. And then all of a sudden, I had this feeling of being enveloped, and knew there was a presence and there's something right on top of me. And I was like, oh man. And my radar comes up, and I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear this breathing that the best way to kind of describe it, it's not exactly right, but the best description is Darth Vader. Kind of thing. And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, oh man. And then I knew Big Daddy had walked right up behind me, because there's this heavy just power projection. And I'm just, oh man. And I just immediately said, Daddy, I know you're right behind me, and I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing a thing. I'm just listening to you guys do what you do. You know I'm not a threat to anything. I'm just going to sit here.
Did you say it as calm as you're saying now?
Yep. I collected myself because I wanted to project calmness, not fear,
And
because you don't ever project fear. I don't know if it sounded as calm out there when it happened, because I was on full alert going, this thing's right behind me. What is going to happen here? He stands there, he watches me, and then he realizes he's just sitting here. And I hear him turn and start moving off down the mountain. And as soon as he got down from me a little bit, I pivot on that log. I looked down in the darkness and I said, thank you. And I meant it. Because, I mean, if they truly are a threat to us, we're not having this conversation right now. They could have ended me at any point in time, but I built trust with them. They know me. They know I'm not going to hurt them. They also know I never go in there armed. I have, now that we do have wolf activity in that area, I am taking bear spray in with me, but that's, in terms of a weapon, that's it. Don't go with electronics. I try to use flashlight as little as possible. And if I can get the right amount of moonlight and starlight, I very frequently am not using flashlight at all. And so I go out there, make myself as accessible and approachable as I can, and try to remember there's nothing here in the night that isn't there in the day, and just not being afraid of being out in the element. And I think that's probably the most difficult thing that a lot of people are going to have a challenge getting over, is that willingness to let go of the fear of being out there in the dark. And I was lucky. The family I was raised in, a lot of the work experiences I've had out in the forest, I've been out in the forest at night, and sometimes completely by myself, no weapons, no nothing. So I'm not scared to be in that environment, and a lot of people are.
Do you think any of them are violent, dangerous, or do you think that's overblown?
I think it's going to depend. I definitely know just to the north of my family group, there is another family group that I have had just about every single one of my hostile encounters with Bigfoot stories in Southern Oregon comes out of this family group. They are definitely, I referred to them the other day in our radio town hall as surly. They are grumpy. They are very quick to aggressively protect their territory. Have they attacked anybody? Not that I know of. Have they done a lot of real intimidating activity, screaming, roars, taking trees down, throwing big rocks the size of basketballs at people? Absolutely. They've done all that. My family group never had that experience. I've never had that experience anywhere else that I have been. I have been followed out of the woods on multiple occasions, but I never felt like I was under direct threat. It was always the feeling more of watching me to see what was going on. I honestly, guys, I wouldn't know how I would react if I was truly the subject of a real aggressive encounter.
Well, it sounds like partially that you've had such good experiences because you have been so calm and collected and slow and patient with them. I imagine, right, some of these people having issues, maybe, you know, they make a lot of noise.
Yep.
They've got their flashlights waving around. You know, maybe these creatures feel threatened or
you don't take dogs, you don't have bright lights, you don't behave in an aggressive, hostile manner. And then the other part of it is where I come from, my own personal belief. I mean, I'm Native American in my ancestry. Native Americans definitely have a very different view of the world as a whole, but also understanding that we're not the God dominant thing. And I think a lot of other problems people have is this projection of what I call the God human. They go strutting around in the woods like they own the place. You think about a stranger coming into your home that walks around like he owns everything and he starts getting into everything. You're going to start getting a little hostile with somebody like that who just marches in your door. Or would you prefer to have somebody knock on the door, be respectful, act respectful? There is a big difference in how I look at the whole thing in terms of how I approach them, and it definitely has paid off for me. But again, you've got to be willing to get outside of what I would call the human box, leave the human box, enter the natural world, and be willing to be a part of that world and lose your humanity.
Yeah. So we are on overtime, and I want to talk about the Freeman experience.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely want to cover this, the baby things that we were talking about when we were on the phone. So let's. So you went to a meeting where Michael was a speaker.
Yeah, and once
Paul
again,
Freeman's son. Go ahead and tell him that.
Sir. You play another pivotal role here because you put up the notice he was going to be at North American Bigfoot Center. I'd never met Michael, and I thought, man, that'd be great to go to. So then I get in touch with Cliff, and Cliff goes, absolutely, get yourself up here. Well, I also wanted to meet Michael because my uncle, unbeknownst to me, he'd had all these great stories about Bigfoot in the Blue Mountains. The source of his stories was West Summerlin. So I wanted to meet Michael and tell him my best Blue Mountain story to see if he had heard this from his dad or somebody else. And yes, he was aware of the story. But just knowing about Paul and what I thought I knew, which was dead wrong, by the way, getting up there to have that opportunity to hear from Michael, have him present what his dad had been doing, present the book. And it's not just simply a book. You're giving away Bigfoot museums and scale. People, if you want a Bigfoot museum, especially about Bigfoot in the Blue Mountains of Oregon and Washington, get the Freeman files. There's a special on Amazon right now. Get it. Because Doug, full credit to you, had the great idea to put QR codes in this book. When you use the QR codes, you get to see the videos, you get to see the pictures, you get to hear Paul in his own voice. These are all pivotal things. Yeah. If you thought you knew what Paul Freeman had been up to, you really need to get this to fully understand it. I had no idea how dedicated he had been on this subject. I was aware of the footage, of course. I considered it behind PGF to probably be the second best footage of a Bigfoot we had seen. But I still had some questions about it myself because of the movement of the individual in the film versus how Patty's moving. And I had not taken into account the shape of the ground and the type of terrain and what they were negotiating. But long story short, I'm sitting there, Michael's doing his presentation, and he showed his dad's original footage, and I'm looking at it and going, yeah, that's all interesting. And then Michael goes, pay attention to this part right here. And you see this blob in darkness that it's kind of blurry and indiscriminate. And then Michael says, now watch this. And then told us the story about Doug Hajicek had been watching this video since 2002 and had spotted something about that and had been wanting to get a better look at it literally for years. And then Michael said, and now, just now, we have finally got the technology to clean this up. And then he showed the enhanced, your footage. And what I saw immediately, blew my mind, and then made me think back to Patterson-Gimlin, because in the enhanced footage, and again, get the book, people, you see the Bigfoot in the Freeman film reach down and it picks something up off the ground, and that's something you see two legs hanging down and then get pulled up on spontaneous muscle reaction, just like human infants, just like the infants of gorillas, chimps, and orangs when they're picked up. It's that infant thing. You grab them, the legs are going to hang down, and then they just immediately pull them up. Mom starts packing that kid away. I saw that, my mind's blown, and I'm like, whoa, okay. We've got a female Bigfoot wide out in the open, bright sunny day, hot day, near a water source. Where else have I seen that before? Patterson-Gimlin film, October 20th, 1967. They estimate it was in the upper 80s, maybe even 90 degrees at the time that happened on a water source. And I went, okay, so two females out in the open. That one picked up a baby.
Yep, in full sun.
Then I'm hearing Bob Gimlin in my head going, oh, I'm riding across the creek to get a better look at this thing. And Roger's screaming, don't leave me, because he knew there were other ones there. He'd seen other footprints. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute. On the car ride home from, Cliffs, I'm going, has anybody ever asked if there were smaller size footprints when they had their encounter with Patty and filmed her? And I kept thinking about it going, I've got to ask this, because since both of those movies have been made, the debate has always been, well, is that real or is that a hoax? Not me. I know they're real, but I'm trying to understand, why would they do this?
Yeah. Why would they be out in the open? Why would
exactly.
they just get dead into the forest? Yeah.
So enter Scott Volette, and Scott was at a function with Bob Gimlin. And I got in touch with Scott and I said, Scott, you have got to ask Bob, when you guys got the footage of Patty, were there smaller size footprints there? The answer blew my mind. He's got Bob on tape saying, yeah, as a matter of fact, there were smaller prints there that we thought was of a younger female. And those prints went the opposite direction of the way Patty was going. Bob wound up following those for about a mile, and then they dropped into this creek. There was some water there and got into this thick stuff. Bob decided he didn't want to try and negotiate that. He goes back to where Roger's at. So Bob answered the question on tape for Scott, and I know Scott is popping in and out here. Scott and I have been playing that answer at the presentations we've been doing in the town hall we did. And he said, Bob told him off camera, he said, nobody's ever asked that question. Well, you and I had a conversation ahead of this, Doug, and we both realized Patty, what she's doing the mama killdeer. It's look at me, and the baby takes off because it was older. Then, in the case of Freeman, another adult female again, wide out in the open, but she scoops that baby up because it's so young and carries it off. So what we had there.
Well, actually, what I think Michael can explain it best, but
yeah,
Paul filmed, this female, but he lost track of her then. She came out as a distraction, and he had to kind of pick up the trail, and it was like 10 minutes later. Mm-hmm. And then he saw them in a different area, in that area. And that's when he filmed what he thought was just two adults.
Right.
He never saw the baby,
Yeah.
because it was too deep into the shadows.
Yeah, and full credit again to you, because I don't know how you pick up on things like that, especially in the original Freeman.
Patience.
But you stayed at it until you got
Yeah.
it, and then there it is. Boom. Legs dangling down, they get drawn up. So now we know
Yep.
hot day, water source, presence of kids. And both of those females do something you do not see adult female Bigfoots do. This family group I have been around, I have never laid eyes on Mama in the group that I know of. We have definitely found her footprints. We know she's around. There's kids, so Mama's there, but I have never knowingly laid my eyes on her. So the two best pieces of footage that we have now of a Bigfoot, if it weren't for the presence of the kids, we may have never had them.
Yeah.
Because it forces them to do something they would otherwise never do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think too. And then we can add the Memorial Day footage too. Same thing. Comes out in the open. Once again, there's a kid at the end, a baby that articulates completely on its own, pops up, and you can see the weight of it as the mother walks away into the forest. But once again, it's unnatural behavior for an animal that wants to stay hidden, but they had children. And that's why the Bigfoot that Freeman filmed, Michael calls it Big Jill.
Yep.
Because she's in a postpartum. When I first thought it reminded me of an old pot-bellied man. When I first saw it.
Yep.
So I thought, it's a male with a big pot belly, an old male. I never realized it was a female until I saw the baby. And then I realized, we're probably looking at a postpartum female here.
Yeah.
That doesn't have much in the breast area, but
no, not like Patty. Yeah.
Not like Patty, but certainly in the stomach, the distended stomach, and the baby in the Freeman looks pretty young. Looks like, I would say, under a month old.
Yeah, that's an infant. I have no doubt in my mind because of how the legs come up. There's a certain age group where you do that, and then as they get older and they start walking, or they at least start standing up on things with assistance, that starts going away. That's an inherent, ingrained, knee-jerk reaction to being picked up.
Kids start pulling downwards when they can walk.
Yep.
Well, this thing actually wraps its legs around the mother's waist.
Exactly. There's all kinds of tells there, and the fun part for me was to realize we've got these two things are connected, even though they wouldn't seem to be because of the distance of time and then the sheer distance of miles, but they're connected.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think they are very highly connected. The perfect storm happened because of the infants.
Yeah. And again, obviously I'm sitting here, I give credit to you for helping me understand what happened to me to begin with because of your involvement with Mysterious Encounters. And then it was you that absolutely made all the dots connect to ask Bob the question that as soon as I heard his answer, I was like, we know what's going on here now.
Well, I appreciate hearing that. It's nice years later to know to hear about some of the effects some of these things had on people.
Yeah.
It's rewarding, because at the time you're just thinking, nobody watched that damn show.
Oh, you don't think so. And yet it's amazing to find out the kind of impact you have on people, sometimes years down the road like this, I can't thank God enough that, I was a ski racing fan that I was to tune in at the right time to catch Mysterious Encounters that kind of just opened up this whole other side of my life that has so definitely enriched me and blessed me. And I don't care if anybody else will ever agree with me. Matters not to me. I've never been in it to try and be the guy. I've never been in it to try and say, by God, I'm going to prove they're real. I didn't get Paul Freeman. ism in that respect.
Yeah.
I just wanted to further understand. And then I got gifted with the opportunity to actually start to build some kind of a relationship out there with them. That just blows my mind. But it further establishes the fact these are very intelligent beings. And I don't know what to tell you for sure what they are, but their intelligence level, I'm going to tell you right now, is equal to and succeeds ours, because in their element, in their world, for what's important, they dominate. They're very much masters of the natural world. We've been given a gift to be very technology driven, like we're doing now, and building cars and stuff. But does that make us superior everywhere? No, it does not. And that's actually how humans get themselves in trouble out in the natural world in all kinds of ways, that leads to disastrous circumstances for them and fatalities, because we carry our egos with us in places we absolutely should not.
Well, there's a couple of non-invasive things you could do, Greg, that I would love you to try. One, get a remember the old plasticine clay that we used to play with when we were kids?
Yep.
It never dries.
Yep.
Get some of that, and knead it all together in a nice kind of the size of an apple.
Mm-hmm.
Mix some oils in there, some fruit oils, and just leave it out in your area. At the very least, they'll handle it and leave you some amazing prints. But they may try to bite down on it. You'll get a mouth casting.
Yeah, that's true. And I heard you talking about that dust, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that dust.
We're working on it.
That would be a game changer.
Well, another
I'd like to
thing
get my
is,
hands on that.
bring up, excuse me here, hold on. Get a black or blue piece of very shiny acrylic, just a 12 by 12 size. Leave it out there, and it's a very good chance they'll handle it and leave you amazing fingerprints, DNA. You can put a little piece of Velcro on like front and back of it, the hook part, and you might get some hair.
Exactly.
Leave an audio recorder out there, and that's it. If you do that, you could come away with some of the best evidence ever.
By the way, Greg Najar put something up. Alex, can you throw that back up? Okay. Yes, he does. But sometimes he opens up a world to you that you wouldn't even have dreamed of. That's what he did to me. I couldn't possibly have dreamt all of this. I had no idea any of this was ever going to happen. It could be possible. But I will know. I mean, I will agree with what's said there, that he's in the market of making others' dreams come true. I've witnessed it. I know what you helped do for Cliff, for example. But on the other hand, Doug, sir, you have this gift to be able to help open doors, and doors that lead to discovery. And you did it with MonsterQuest beyond the Bigfoot stuff. You guys were all into the giant squid and presenting these amazing, those giant squid episodes you guys did were some of the best things I have ever seen done on the subject. So yeah, I mean, you just kind of opened these pathways up, and I've been kind of following it on my own adventure, but it all started because you opened up the first big door.
I appreciate that. Alex, make sure you send him a museum.
Greg?
164th, because I'm big on my Matchbox and hobby.
There you go. Yeah, he's got one. Yeah, make sure you send him.
I knew where you were going with that, Greg.
No, but I do appreciate all the kind words, but that's enough.
I'm really happy you guys gave me the opportunity to come on again. I'm not one of these guys looking to become a name or anything like that, but I wanted to talk about the things that you, Doug, have helped opened up for me. And then that last big one about clinching what was going on with Patty, what was going on with Freeman, with Big Jill, and all the dots connected. And that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't have been for your involvement with Freeman Files and helping get that thing going. And I can't say enough for that book. It is a major source I recommend to people, because you don't
We
have to
appreciate
be a big Bigfooter to truly understand the material here.
Right.
And in fact, if you're trying to figure out how to do this, Freeman Files is a great place to start. It really is. And you contributed to it. Other people like Dar Addington, Cliff, Dr. Jeff. I mean, there's
yeah.
a whole list of
It's a
Tom
team.
Howell.
It's a big
Yeah,
team
it's
effort.
great. Yeah.
Everything's a team effort. I like to think of myself sometimes as glue.
No.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm glue boy. In fact, I've been called glue boy.
I see Michael joining in. Love you too, Greg. Yeah, I'll tell you what, he is a brother now. We've had some chats
Michael's
beyond
amazing.
Bigfooting stuff. That is a truly great guy. I'm so happy that our worlds collided.
Yeah.
I had the chance to meet him, and yes, the story I had from the blues through my uncle from West Summerlin, he was aware of it. He knew about it. So, I can't believe how weird the world is sometimes, that my uncle, his hunting, whiskey drinking, horse riding buddy was West Summerlin, and he had these amazing Bigfoot stories he was telling about the toucan. And now here we are, all full circle through the Freeman Files and doing this. I mean, life is an adventure. It really is.
It is. And, we're all supposed to do things that have good positive effects on everybody. And it's kind of cool to come together and talk about it. But there's more to come.
Nope.
There's more to come. We're not done yet.
No, and of course, we're going to have a great summer this year because, obviously we're going to be getting the high DAT recorders out. We're going to be doing some other experimentation on some things to see if that might lead to better success.
You should.
Unfortunately, one night we made an attempt to try and get them on night vision video, and we did what I called messing with Sasquatch, and I was really afraid I'd blown it with my family group, because it did produce, not directly to me, but with my buddy Tommy. He got bluff charged by Big Daddy, and I was afraid I might have changed the dynamic, but no, we pulled out of there once I realized they were upset. I said, we got to get out of here, give them time to cool down. Then I get back up there 3 weeks later and all was good. And, so I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, we did what I called the messing with Sasquatch technique, because we were trying to draw them out in front of my friend James with his night vision movie camera to get video, and we were going to do calls back and forth. And what wound up happening was Tommy heard an Ohio type howl come from down slope, and I was moving up, and he thought I'd changed my mind and moved down slope. So he responded to it. And as soon as he responded to it, Daddy knew, and he came charging up the mountain at Tommy and the lady who was with him. And Tommy said that he was looking through a first generation Starlight vision scope, and he could see trees doing this. And he said that thing is smoking up the side of that mountain at a speed like you wouldn't believe. And the gal that was sitting with him lost her nerve, panicked, left, went running back to the pickup. Tommy sat there watching this coming up. And then he said, I could feel the footfalls. I could feel the impact, like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park had to be. He goes, I could feel it. He goes, then I got scared and bugged out. And he said, and I start running up the road. And I said, when you were running up the road, did you ever turn to look back? And he said, nope, I wasn't about to. He said, I was almost afraid of what I might see in the road behind me. But they all hauled tail back to the truck. The lady who was with Tommy, her husband was with me. We came down from our position and we all met up at the truck. And then that's when I said, all right, we're done here, and moved out. But I've taken other people up there with me, and sometimes we get it right. We get in the right spot and we have great things happen. And then other times, and unfortunately, Bart Catino, I still owe Bart something, but I also want to have Bart there because with his FLIRs, I think we could get something truly great in the way of thermal footage, but Bart's 0 for 2 in my area, but at least Bart tells me this is the best habitat I have seen outside of the Olympic Peninsula. And I said, right, this is like made to order Bigfoot habitat. This is where and how you're going to find them hanging out because of the abundance of food, because of water, because of the heavy cover with the evergreens of various types. You got the north slope element in the summer that you can get back in those trees and it'll be a good 20, 30 degrees cooler than being out on the southern slopes where the berries are.
All right, we're about to turn into a pumpkin, aren't we?
Yeah, Greg, it's been great.
Well, thank you guys, and I'm sorry. You know, I get on rolls like this, and we start talking, and boom.
Time goes quick. It does.
Yeah.
But thank you, everybody. Thanks, Brown Dwarf, Kevin, William, Amy, Deborah, and B, and God, everybody else that's kind of hung in till the end here. But thanks, guys, and we'll talk soon, Greg. I gotta give you a whole arsenal of things we can try.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And then, the other thing too, hopefully you can get Les and I hooked up again. I did get out to hear him do a concert last summer and we had a chance to talk briefly. And he said, I really do need to get back around and start doing some new Bigfoot stuff. And I'd love to actually work with him because I see a lot of parallels for me and what happened and what I watched with Les as he went through the Survivor Man Bigfoot, and then of course that one episode that you find on YouTube that never made it.
I'll tell you what, I'll get Les on, and then towards the end of the show I'll bring you on. You can ask him yourself. That'd
be great.
Let's do it.
Because I think he will get a real kick out of being up in my area, and I'm really looking forward to giving him that opportunity to go, okay, here's how we're going to approach this. This is what we're going to do, and this is how it'll go down. And when we do it right, you're going to get the opportunity to see firsthand for yourself what you've searched all over Canada and the United States for. We'll take you there.
All righty. With that, we're going to roll our end, and thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night. Good night, everybody. Good night.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love we got going on. I'll pick you up in my 59 Ford. We head on down the road until we get bored. Just you and me and the sun and the wind. If the rain should start falling, we'll head on home again. Everybody else can see where we belong. Forever is one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt, and